Hello everyone, welcome to another event organized by JAK Istanbul. I'm Merve Binnomuş. I'm software engineer and member of JAK Istanbul. Today we have Yauheni Kapliarchuk with us. He will be presenting on the topic of security issues in open source project. Before we begin, I would like to introduce our community. Java User Group Istanbul is one of the most active Java communities in Turkey. By organizing webinars, meetups, hackathons, bootcamps, and participating in the Global Day of Code Read, we contribute to the Java community. We host the annual international event, Java Day Istanbul, every year. We invite speakers we consider to be of high quality from various parts of the world. We have more than 10,000 members and have conducted over 145 events of this kind. We are an open non-profit organization. As Java User Group Istanbul, we are members of the Java Community Process and the Eclipse Foundation. As a community, we support Atom, open community mentoring, and strive to contribute to open source projects. And our next events will be related to JAK Tech Day in March and Java Day Istanbul in May. We shared the event details on our social media. We are also waiting for your participation in these events. To stay up to date with the latest developments in Java, we have a podcast series that we release once a month. You can access them on Spotify and iTunes. Every month we hold JetBrains giveaways. If you would like to participate, you can follow us on Twitter or X. We would like to extend our gratitude to our Go sponsor, Couchbase, and our new sponsor, Scale Focus, and NACA and our sponsors. If you are interested in joining the Java User Group Istanbul or getting more information, we welcome you to our Slack channel. To reach out to us and follow us, you can use our email address hello@jakistanbul.org, our Twitter or X handle @jak_Istanbul, and other social media links available in the QR code. Thank you for listening to me. Now I will pass the platform to my friend Yauheni. Enjoy the presentation.
Yes, now it's working. Thank you, because I think it was the settings from your side, and I can't unmute. But by the way, let me share my screen right now. So, okay, guys, I see my screen with my presentation. Nice, thank you. So today I wanna talk, and one of the, of course, each topic in these webinars, this is really significant, very popular, and blah blah blah. Today we will talk about the security and vulnerability issues in the open source projects. Let me introduce a little bit myself. My name is Yauheni. My so original name is Yauheni, but you can call me Yauheni, or Zhenya, or from time to time, for example, if I go to take a coffee, I wrote in the talkie, I wrote the name of my wife, because no one can say my name correct. I'm software engineer, senior software engineer at the Pump Systems, and today we will talk about the security issues in open source project. Of course, I expect that everyone here working in the software engineer sphere, and but in the beginning, I wanna say what, and I think that everyone knows that what is it open source project. But when I started working with open source project in my previous project in the current company, I faced with some issues with understanding what is it. And first of all, let's start that open source project. This is a software products whose code is available for viewing, user modification, and of course distribution to any interested users. Also, these projects are usually developed by a community of developers who collaborate to create and improve the software. But also the big tech companies also support the open source projects, and for searching the, for example, the new ideas, or searching the some new possibilities in the software engineer world. The importance of open source projects in the modern software development is enormous and continues to grow. Here, a few key aspects of their significance. First of all, is transparency and accessibility of the code. Ensure transparency and accessibility of the open source code, which allows developers to easily understand the work of the program as well as study and improve. Second one, this is a collaborative development. Open source projects actively involve a community of developers who can make their own changes, bug fixes, and new features. This contributes to faster and more innovative software development. But also, if you want to go to really big tech companies in our world, so you can put the link to your GitHub, and of course, these companies will check your activity in open source project. This is also significant for them. Next step, this is saving time and resources. If you will use open source projects, these projects will allow developers to save time and resources, and they can use existing components and libraries instead of creating them from scratch. Next key, this is the security and reliability. Of course, big thanks to open access to the source code. The community has the ability to quickly detect and fix vulnerabilities and bugs, increasing the security and, of course, the reliability of the software. The last 2 points is innovations and standards, and the training and development. Of course, this is a point significant, but this is something about you can be like a creator, because open source projects often act as incubators for new ideas and technologies, as well as contribute to the development of open data standards and protocols. And also, if you want to improve your knowledge in the software engineering, you can try to open source projects and check the code which was written by real professionals. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Ensuring security in the open source projects. Here these projects plays a critical role in their successful functioning and user perception. Here are some also the key aspects of the importance of security in open source projects and growing interest in this topic. You can see that I highlighted 2 options in the red and the orange colors, because in the next slide, I want to provide you some situation which happened in my previous project in a company, and today I want to talk maximally. I want to talk regarding two of these topics. First of all, this is protecting the reputation of the project, because you can understand one thing. Security flaw can lead to a loss of trust of the part of the users and community members. Compromising security can negatively affect the reputation of the project and its long-term viability. And the second option, this is which was really significant for our project. This is that open source projects are often and focus of attackers who can use vulnerability to carry out attacks. And ensuring security is important to protect against various threats, including the introduction of malicious code, data leakage, authentication attacks, and others. And let's go to the situation. Let's imagine the issue. I have my open source project. I wrote my code really perfect, everything working like I expect, and I provide my project to others projects. Yes, and for example, if we talk about the Java, let's think that let's imagine that my open source project is I will provide the SDK or some library to others customers or projects. They use my SDK for doing some job for the real customers. These are customers using, for example, their software, and this software using my library. And what happened in my life with my previous open source project? Real customers before, so they have on their own servers the Veracode analyzer, and they report some bug and some security issue to another project. Of course, this is a project. Check their libraries, check their dependencies, and they write me, okay, what happened with your project? Because we receive from our customers that you have some security issue in your SDK. And of course, this is a potential really risky situation for me, like a provider of the SDK, and I have to fix it. But if you are owner of the open source project, you have to understand one thing, that you will have, of course, potentially you will have a lot of contributors to your project, but you have to control each pull request, each merge to your main branch, and something like this. And you need to control everything what you will put inside. Of course, we can say, okay, guys, I have to improve and make the really deep, really hard CI/CD pipelines. For example, when the people will integrate their code to my open source projects, they have to face these really difficult quality gates for integration. But you understand that you have to spend a lot of time for improving this system, and of course it will be really expensive. But what we will do? Also, we have to, and what happening in my project. Now we decided to make some investigation task, and we decided to make some investigation. Okay, let's check main sources of the threats and vulnerabilities, what can happen with your project. And of course, there the overview of the main source of the threats and vulnerabilities. And first of all, this is insufficient testing. The absence of insufficient testing of the code can lead the presence of hidden bugs and vulnerabilities. Of course, incompleteness of the set of the test case may lead to undocumented behaviors or to the risk of intentional disruption of functionality when making changes. But this is open source project. I have to work with big test team and they have checked everything. Of course, I can make the not only the unit test, I have to make the integration test also. But this is also expensive. Second option, this is a lack of updates. Outdated software versions may contain known vulnerabilities that can be exploited by hackers. The lack of regular security updates and fixes may reduce the level of protection of the project, and you have to check each your build to control it. And you can imagine that, for example, someone push his code to your project, you have to open your CI pipeline and check what happened with the libraries, what happened, perhaps some vulnerabilities. Are you seriously? You have to check each build pipeline? I think no. The next option is using outdated libraries and dependencies. They also may contain no vulnerabilities that can be used to attack of the project. Next one, insufficient data protection. Open source projects can process sensitive user data or corporate information, and their insufficient protection can lead to the, data leaks or unauthorized access to them. Insufficient authentication and authorization. I think everyone understands what is it, and of course the lack of protection against injections and other attacks. For example, insufficient control of data entry can lead to the possibility of SQL injections, XSS, and other attacks, as a result of which attackers can gain access to the system of data. And an overview of these main source of threats and vulnerabilities allows you to better understand where the problems may arise in open source projects and what precautions should be taken to protect the project and its issues. And for example, I think everyone knows, I remember really popular, popular the examples of known incidents. You can see that each technology, for example, Python, really significant technology in language, programming language, really significant to our world right now. But you can see in the 2020, in the request libraries, they have a really major vulnerability security issue. For example, NPM also, Node.js. And one of the major in the Java world, it was a log4j. I want to stay a little bit here because so in 2021 was of the most serious and widespread security incident. And Apache log4j, just clarification, I think everyone knows that this is a popular library for logging and logging messages in Java application, but this vulnerability allowed attackers to remotely execute arbitrary code on the servers using this library by embedding the malicious code in the log messages. And of course, this has led to widespread attacks, as Apache log4j is one of the most common and widely used components in the Java ecosystem. I remember the situation when it happens. It happened. I remember that I'm like a senior software engineer. I spent a lot of time open our project, open each libraries, and try to find where we are using log4j, and we have to remove it from our code. It was a really common and major issue in our world. Yeah, let's so check and what is the potential ways to control it, because you can imagine that if you will control each pull request, each merge commit, it will be really expensive for your project. And of course, now in our world we have a lot of systems for this, and we will not talk deeper and find the difference between the, for example, Snyk, SonarCube, Veracode, or Sonar or Jenkins SonarCube, or Oasis, or something like this. But we will talk about these big groups of the potentially monitoring system. First of all, this is called security monitoring systems. I think this is a really most of the popular group. For example, Veracode, I faced with this tool in my project with the real customers, and they're using this is a really powerful tool. But when we worked with our vulnerability security issues, also in our area, we decided, okay, let's try Snyk. This is also the one of the powerful tool for checking the vulnerability security issues. Also, the second big group is open source code analyzers. Yeah, this is just a big group, and vulnerability management systems. And let's talk about a little bit about each of these big groups. First of all, vulnerability management systems. Let's look a comparison and overview of these and find, for example, advantages and disadvantages for each of these big groups for checking these issues. First of all, advantages: centralized vulnerability and risk management. This is so one of the main characteristics of these systems. Also, automation of the vulnerability detection and elimination process, and the ability to integrate with other security and development. Of course, these are tools have a disadvantages. They are not always able to detect all types of vulnerabilities and may require significant resources for configuration and support. You have to understand that these management systems, they use the big resources, and you will spend a lot of time for setting these. But I want to state just in one point that they are not always able to detect all types of vulnerabilities. From my experience, I can say that each of these systems, for example, each of these groups has the same problem. These tools, they are not always able to detect all types of vulnerabilities. Doesn't matter. This is a vulnerability management system. This is an open source system, open source analyzers, or it will be code security monitoring system. Each of these system not always be able to detect all types of vulnerabilities. Okay, this is one big group. Second group of these tools, this is a code security monitoring system. Big advantages: detection of vulnerabilities and potential vulnerabilities in the source code. Because, for example, these systems, they are going checking your code. They are working like static analyzers, but they are also checking not only about how you write the code, but they are checking your dependencies, checking libraries, and something like this. Also, the integration into the development process for quick feedback, and the ability to analyze the source code in the early stage of the development. For example, when you try to use, for example, Snyk or Veracode in our project, what we did, you have to understand one thing, that you will need to buy the new server, install this system, integrate. You have to spend time for set up the system, and you will. So you have to understand that. I think you will find some special person who will support this system in the future, because this is not this is really tricky systems. You have to set up it, make some settings changes, and you have to support these systems. And of course, it can be expensive for your resources. Disadvantages may give false positives or miss some vulnerabilities. This is what I said before on the previous slide. And some systems require training and adaptation to the specific project, because this system, they are working inside your project. If the previous one, they are working like it will integrate to your ecosystem, but it will integrate to your current project. This is a more, how can I say, this is a more more focused tools than the previous group. Let's move to the third the group. This is open source code analyzers. Advantages: detection of vulnerabilities and security issues in the project dependencies. They check in your dependencies, they will not check so deeper your code styles or something like this, but they will check like a global your project. Ability to integrate with the CI/CD systems for automatic code analysis. Providing recommendations on how to eliminate vulnerabilities. For example, these systems can make, for example, okay, guys, you have to update this library or something like this. Disadvantages may be limited in the ability to analyze complex projects, because this is open source code analyzers, and you can understand tomorrow I want to make my own open source project, and of course I want to join to these systems or ways for dependency check, and of course they have to spend some time and some resources to analyze my project. But of course, if your project will be really complex, you can imagine this. Yes, these are disadvantages, and also some analysis may take a significant amount of time to complete. This is because this is a big one. This is the one of the biggest tools, and logically, as a result, how to choose security tools for open source projects. And of course, first of all, this is functionality and features. Believe me, you can choose one of the system, but you will use, I think, 30% of these systems, because if you want to integrate Snyk, this is a really powerful tool, but you will spend a lot of time for this. You have to training. You have to understand everything what you need. This is unbelievable for the time resources. This situation, and you have to understand what you really need and how you will use it. Of course, the second, this is a significant detection accuracy. Is important that the selected system demonstrates high vulnerability detection accuracy and minimize the number of the false positives, because this is significant for your project. Try to evaluate the performance of the system and based on the real data or reviews from the other users. Of course, this is you have to receive the as a possible quick result. Integration. Make sure that the selected system integrates with your current development infrastructure, including, for example, version control system. It can be GitLab, Bitbucket, and like this, and other security tools that you use. For example, you can use, for example, some monitoring system in the global monitoring system, but you want to use more deeper your project. You will use, for example, Snyk or Veracode or something like this. You have to try to understand or write to support. Okay, guys, your tool will can be integrated with these tools in my project or not. And of course, support team can support you in this question. But you have to keep in mind this. First, option, cost and license. Of course, for the open source project, a lot of these tools, they have some free license for the open source project, but this is a free license. For example, they have a limited request or limited checks for a month for the open source project. What it means is that, for example, if you have a 100 pull request, you have to understand that, for example, you will merge 10 of these, they will check. But 90 pull requests, which you will merge to your main branch, this tool will not check this because they have a limited request for the checking the open source projects. But also the cost of this project, these tools, if we try to use, for example, monitoring system, this is a really expensive systems. Also, like open source project, this is a significant, this is support and community. Explore the level of support and service provided by the system developer. Pay attention to the activity and size of the user community, which can provide support, solve problems, and share the experience of using the system. Because, for example, if something happened in your project and you don't understand what's going wrong, what you will do? Of course, you will open Stack Overflow, but you can go to the GitHub page of this project and check this issue. Of course, nowadays you can use ChatGPT. But if you don't have a big community, it will be impossible for you. And of course, security and confidentiality. Also, to pay attention to the security and confidentiality of the data transmitted and stored in the system. You have to make sure that the system meets the security requirements of your project and does not become a source of new vulnerabilities. And it can be, it happens. And considering these aspects, you will be able to choose a suitable vulnerability management or code analysis system, and that meets the needs and characteristic of your open source projects. Of course. And I think in the end, also the logical question, but what we choose in our project? Dependabot. We didn't choose anything from these tools, but which we investigate. Perhaps someone knows what is a dependabot. Dependabot. So we stored our code on in a GitHub. And this tool for automatically updating dependencies in the project stored on GitHub. Here's I will provide some features and the abilities in the context of vulnerability detection. But first of all, automatic dependency update. This bot can provide you, okay, guys, you have potentially vulnerability issue. Okay, I will make pull request for you that you have to update this library. It can also create automatic merge requests. For example, you can set up, if you found some high vulnerability issues, please merge it without me. You have just to find, send me notification, and for example, you can merge it and run the build. But, and let me show you some slide here. If you how it can be look on your project, when you set up this, you will see the security tab. On security tab, you can see the dependabot, and dependabot, you can see that this is a 0 open vulnerabilities in our project. Of course, we fixed it because before it was around 25 or 30, I don't remember, but it was a big list. But last of this, it was two closed vulnerability. On this page, you will see everything. For example, if something happened with your libraries, if something happened potentially with your code, this dependabot will check. This is a free tool just provided from the GitHub. And also the logical question, why we didn't choose the other tools. You know, when we installed and set up, we tried to set up the real hard quality gates for our contributors. And of course, dependabot check everything what we need. We spent some time for investigating and set up it. And you know, from after this, when we installed and set up this dependabot in our open source project, we didn't receive any issues from our customers, from our potential users who are using our SDK. And I think this is a perfect tool for today, without spend a lot of time, without spend a lot of resources. This resources, it means not about the money, about the servers, about the time. And each developer on your team can understand what happened on your project, can check, and for example, you can on your team you can make some duty for example, for this week, one of the team member will check the security and vulnerability issue. You don't need to spend a lot of time. Just go one time in a week and check this, one time in a day, yeah, and check the security tag. And that's all. This is not a reclam about the dependabot. They will not pay me, but it works on our project. Thank you for your attention. I think and I hope that it will useful introduction for the security and vulnerability issues in the open source project. Thank you, guys.